Hey there, everybody, Joe here. Hey, sorry it's been a little while since I've had a video. Had a little bit of some, I don't know, I would guess you call them health issues, but basically my right hand, which I'm right-handed, kind of had some gout issues. So some of the joints flared up a little bit and was really hard to hold a pencil. But anyway, I thought today I just would have a little, let's get back and have some fun messing around and do sort of a little bit of a slog. And, you know, basically, let's just have fun. Okay, I'm going to basically be using my, this is my plein air watercolor kit. It's got a decent set of colors. Some of the ones here, this is Aureolin yellow, which I think is cobalt yellow. What's nice is it's a very transparent, it's a cool yellow. And then I've got permanent rose madder, and that's also a nice transparent watercolor. These are non-staining, so they should be easily, probably not erased back into them, but you can kind of rub back into them. I've also got here, this is Viridian, which is also a nice non-staining, but then this is some cobalt blue. So I'm kind of mixing myself up this warm gray tone. Let's get some more blue in there. This will kind of turn it green, more cool. Yellow back in. So I'm just trying to make kind of a semi-neutral gray. But you can see how the color just shifts a little bit. I think you can. You can see how the color shifts a little bit. So I've also got my got a skull over here on the right. I'm kind of gearing myself up for summer, spring and summer. I'm really looking forward to trying to get back out into the world, get outside, do some plein air painting. Kind of get used to my brushes again. You can see how this water kind of beads up with some colors a little bit more. Let's add a little bit more blue to this gray so we get a cooler gray. That should kind of bloom up in here because water content, this brush especially, it's pretty heavy. I think it's kind of fun playing around here. Let's get some more blue in there, even cooler. If we can knock some of this back. I like this hard edge of the bottom of this skull that I'm looking at. Let's just add some almost straight cobalt blue into some of this stuff just to play around. Like I said, this is play. This is, it's sort of like sketching. Just kind of getting used to like remembering how the water bleeds on a page, you know, how things go. Bring it out here a little bit. Let's add some straighter yellow into some of these zones. See how when I add too much, like more water in this yellow, to even push the blue back a little bit there. Now, one of the things that's going to be kind of neat, let's get a lot of yellow back in here. when you look up and you know your brush is full of water, you got to make sure you're kind of paying attention to where it's going to blob out on you. You got to remember to do a little dab. But I think that's the thing about, let's take some of that water away. Well, that's the thing about play is just get in there, and regardless of what you're trying to learn or do, the more fun you can have with something, I think the better your chances are that you're going to be able to going to learn it. Because first of all, it's going to be fun. You're going to want to do it, but also you get rid of a little bit of that negative self-talk. Oh, I can't do this. This isn't going to work. Oh, I don't know how that's going to happen. Oh, that's the worst. You know, you can kind of get rid of that because how can you be wrong when you're just having fun and seeing the way things go? You're just learning. Everything is learning. So let's add in some more, a little bit of a light blue here so we can kind of get the front of this skull edge here. Let's take some of these other colors. So I have some other colors down below that are going to be a little darker in tone. This is ultramarine blue, kind of juiced up. I want a lot of pigment with this because I want to take this ultramarine blue and put in some permanent alizarin crimson, so I get this kind of a real kind of darker purple. I should be able to come in and almost do as a black in this drawing here. Now there's still a lot of water. I'm trying to remove a lot of the water from my brush, but this is a big fat brush. We're just I'm really just playing, like I said, playing around, seeing what this does, kind of remembering. I really haven't been able to get outside and do as much as I'd like to in the last year or so, for lots of reasons. I definitely want to get back out. So right now this is kind of working wet into wet. You can see these like really kind of blooming away on stuff. Kind of have to make up some of the background here because it's up. I have this tiny little skull up on a tripod. Add some more ultramarine so that add some straight ultramarine. The more pigment, obviously, the darker the tone's going to be. I'm not thinking too much about the shadows. So I have one more blue in my palette, and that is phthalo blue. So another thing I'm going to be doing in this video, I don't know, it'll probably be obvious because what I'm going to try and do is I want to edit out my dead air. I want there to be more, listen to me talk. So, but I think I've got a good way of making sure that the video kind of still syncs up. I'm kind of worried about it, but we'll see. I mean, obviously that's another thing to play, right? Lots of things goofing around, but kind of at a stage of watercolor where you really got to let it dry. Because in order to get those details, you need things to be dry so you can get harder edges. We can see where the paper is warping a little bit. This is on a Fabriano block. It's kind of been sitting around. I think we're just gonna have to wait, see how this goes. Give myself a little bit of a 10-minute or so pause. I have a hairdryer somewhere, but I don't know where I've got it. Like I said, this is kind of getting back into the zone, feeling things out, kind of relearning a little bit how to film, how to interact with you guys, everybody out there, and to kind of get reacquainted with one of my favorite mediums. I love watercolor, going outside and painting. But you can kind of see how some of the reflections, maybe if I shift my light a little bit, you can see how some of the reflections are dimming. Coming along. Kind of fun to see how, the granulation, I believe, is from the ultramarine blue. So the little speckledness that's happening is the pigment settling out of the ultramarine blue. I think for my detail stuff, I think I'm going to switch to a different brush so that I don't have to worry as much about water, right? So you can see how some of it in here is, I think, almost dry to the point where I can kind of play around with it. There's still some shine here, so when I come in with these darker colors, I think they'll bleed out a little bit, which I think is okay. So let's play around. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to take that dark purple that I've made, and I want to really make sure it's dark, so I'm going to add some more ultramarine blue to it, because that has a little bit of an opacity to it, and get some more of that permanent alizarin crimson. Back with the ultramarine blue. Okay. Now, here's the part of the watercolor where you could basically almost play around with the whole, basically really have a lot of fun with things. And you always have fun, right? But I guess what I mean is you can be really loose. That's the term I'm looking for. You can be really loose with your watercolors in the beginning. And as long as you come through at the end and come in with the details, you really get some interesting effects. I'm going to kind of wet that edge a little bit so that it's not so hard an edge. Come in with the water here, mix it up, move it around. Let's get that back in that skull darker so that the edge, oops, a little bit of water drip. One of the things about watercolors, you really have to kind of pay attention to where's the liquid, and looking at the details a little bit. The skull itself is pretty heavily in shadow because it's kind of, I have it on the other side of my camera. The camera basically becomes this big shadow in front of it. Just play, see how as you add in that dark, that kind of changes what you're actually seeing on the page. The human eye then changes around. Basically, you can see the details a little bit better. And this is really loose. I mean, there's a lot of, like I said, I'm playing around, kind of getting used to what these materials can do again in preparation for getting back outside, finding inspiration in nature. Here, I'm going to kind of create a hard edge here so that I can create where's the bottom of the skull jawbone. Go underneath, back with that dark purple. But I don't know, give this a shot. Basically, break out some of your watercolors. My palette is pretty limited. Like I said, there's only 16 colors in it, and some of the earth tones I tend to I don't use the earth tones as much. I guess I really like bright colors. I think I am going to add in the tripod just because of those little handheld jobbers. Put some big drips in here. Let them creep down the page. The ultramarine blue really can kind of almost, like I said, mix it in with that little bit of that purple, and you almost get a black. There's a purple I really like too that's called diazoning purple, but it's not part of this kit. I think because it's almost more fun to mix these dark purples with this set. Try and make sure these shapes give them some liveliness. Comes down. And I'm not totally looking at the painting itself. I mean, I should say I'm not totally looking at the skull itself. But so I've got that dark. Let's add some other things just to play around. Let's add some more of that alizarin crimson, but inside of the eyes. Kind of dapple it in there. Change things up. Just see what happens. Not all of these, not all of this is going to work, but like I said, it's kind of fun just to see what happens here with this stuff. Let's come in with, I've got a cadmium yellow medium, and that is a little bit more of a opaque yellow. And I'm going to come through and just kind of, let's see, put some of it in the front where the warmer tones would be, right? I'm going to come through as a textural piece and see how this goes. Might not work. But like I said, I'm kind of trying to see, and get used to how things move and how things happen. Oh, I touched the edge so that water could travel down. So let's play around with it and let it do its thing. Let's just kind of come through. A little bit of a detail there, so see where it goes. All of these are really transparent watercolors, so even though that this has a little bit more opacity to it, you should see like when I put it over there, especially if I put it on heavy. I probably should have left that a little bit lighter, but let's see if we can pull up some of it. So the cadmium yellow medium is a little bit more of a staining. All right, I'm going to come in just because I think I messed that up a little bit. Let's make this a little orange. Come in with that rose madder, blend it back, get some more of that form back in place. It's going to look kind of a little too red. I'll pull through some of these. It's going to look a little gory. Yeah, a little gory. Come through with some of this, more of this dark. It's mostly wet into wet. It's one of those things. I guess this is the other trial of this is can I film this and make it into a coherent video, right? But I think I think that's one of the things I love about art is that experimentation of having fun. Try not to limit yourself. Keep playing around. How does this work? Oh, did I push this too far? And honestly, that's one of the things, like when people tell you how do you know if you've overworked a piece? Well, I think until you overwork a piece, you don't know. And this is definitely going to get overworked. I mean, like I probably should, like at this point, it's kind of like I'm at the point where I probably should stop. But I kind of feel like I want to try a few other things. So let's take some of that permanent alizarin crimson, and I'm gonna try and just kind of plop it in. Let's see if I can make some plops. Yeah, let's get some splattering in there, like this weird zombie skull. I want to come through with some more of this yellow so we can kind of pull through some of these teeth. The more I can bring some of these colors into other parts of the piece, the more unified it'll be. Even though, this isn't going to be something where somebody's going to say, hey, I want to put this on my wall, spend $1 million on it. These are the things you just got to think about, so that when you do create your masterpieces, you kind of played around with, okay, well, this is what I needed to do that. That really worked here. Like adding that little bit of yellow down here helps a lot. I think I probably should have been better about this edge here. I think can splatter just some regular water on here. That'll do some goofiness too. And last but not least, I'm going to just come in with some of that ultramarine blue here. These are kind of these foam legs, so kind of shaped funny. And there's one that comes back here. Didn't put any greens in this at all. This is a little dirty here. So let's come through and see if we can just get that blue down there. This kind of went green over here. Blue in on these bottom edges. Okay, one more. Okay, let's let this dry again. Oh, I guess, you know what, one more thing I'm going to do. I'll pull some of this cooler Oriole and yellow, just plop it over here, just to see. And we're going to go through with some more of that alizarin crimson down here. And let's put a little blue in there. There's a shadow. Play. And you kind of, the more you play with something, the more you're going to learn about how does it work. Okay, I'm going to give this some more time. Hey, if you've enjoyed watching this far, please be sure to give me a like. Share this with your friends if you're so inclined, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So I've got a few more like projects and stuff in the works for some ideas on you know, how things can go. I think this weekend one of the things I'm going to do is how to decorate your dice tray. And then after that, I think I'll probably play around with some ideas on how to take a design from pencils all the way through to a final threadless design. I've got a couple designs that have been percolating for the past like too long, maybe at least a year, and they need to get done. So you know, hey, thanks a lot. I'm gonna let this thing go, and we'll just let this dry and see how it goes, and if we can actually tell what happens. But you know, thanks. I really appreciate watching. Thanks for checking in with me if you have done so. And, you know, I really, you know, thanks a lot. I really love you all. Hey, if you can give somebody a reason to smile, you just might get to smile too. Okay? Thanks a lot, everybody. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye.